Well, it's essentially saying that the internet is the ultimate challenge and the ultimate opportunity. It's introducing us to a world of language that's larger than anything we've ever seen before, much larger than all the libraries in the world combined, and becoming increasingly spoken as well as time goes by. And so students in particular, I mean the younger students in particular, but all of us have to learn to manage it. And learning to manage it means learning what it's about, not just, I mean, technologically, but I mean linguistically learning what it's about. What is actually going on there? What sort of language is being used on the internet now? How far is it different from traditional speech and traditional writing? Right. And the argument I make is that it both is a revolution and isn't a revolution. In some respects it is, in that it opens up new possibilities of communicative interaction that were never there before. Right. I mean, simple things like the fact that the internet is a very mobile, animated medium, which means that the language you see on the screen is moving in front of your eyes, scrolling across the screen. Well, how do you assimilate that? How do you, in terms of reading comprehension, how do you handle that? There are new strategies here that you need to assimilate, and you've never had to do that before. Right. So that's one aspect. The internet is revolutionary in those respects. But on the other hand, when you ask the question, to what extent has the internet made the English language, for example, any language, but the English language different from what it was before, then the answer is not so revolutionary. It hasn't had that much impact at all, really. A few thousand new words, which is a drop in the ocean as far as the English language is concerned. No really new, novel grammatical constructions, rather more writing variation, new punctuations coming in or being left out. Capitalization varies a bit, spelling varies a bit, and so on. But on the whole, the impact of the internet so far has been pretty minimal. But so far is the operative word, because the internet has only been around for about 20 years or so, and therefore, and that's a drop in the ocean as well, an eye blink in the history of language change. So in the next 50 years, 100 years, we might see more impact on language. But the important thing at the moment is that teachers need to become fully aware of it, adopt as much as they can the mindset of the kids in their care. For the kids, the internet is central. It's not marginal to their lives, it's central to their lives. They're native speakers of the internet. Anybody born since 1991 has never known a world without it. Right. And in that respect, therefore, it's a desideratum for teachers. It's both a challenge, to assimilate all this new perspective, and an opportunity of reaching out to their students in a way that was never possible before. Well, I'm not an English language teacher in that sense, so in a sense I have no idea. Right. But on the other hand, I have visited classrooms and seen how people are using it in various ways. I think the main thing is it's a very important motivating force. Right. Kids who might find a grammatical construction, learning a grammatical construction rather boring, suddenly get hugely motivated if they see it online in some very interesting context or other. The graphics, the animated graphics that you can use are highly motivating, and so on. So there's that. There's also the way in which it introduces students to the stylistic variation that is essential in a language. People often think that style is something you learn at the end of a language course. You learn your basic grammar and your vocabulary, and then later on you learn a bit about style. Yeah. No, style should be there from the very beginning. The notion of what is appropriate, that is, it's appropriate for me to speak formally in this circumstance and informally in that circumstance, permeates English, as many languages, all languages, and it's there from the outset. Now, what the internet has done is it's presented us with a huge range of new styles. All the kids know this, that the abbreviations they use when they're text messaging are for text messaging. You don't use them in other circumstances. There's a different sort of language on Facebook, a different sort of language on Twitter, and so on, just because of the constraints of the technology and all the way in which these mediums have evolved. And so I see the internet as providing an introduction to language variation and language change in a way that was never possible before, or not so easy before. And it's absolutely essential that students learn this perspective right from the outset. If they think that there's just one form of English, a very narrow notion of standard, formal, written English, then once upon a time you could have survived in the English language with that perspective, right. But not anymore. not when you see it online in this variation. Well, I think older people find it hard to keep up because they're not native speakers of it, as it were. But young people don't have any trouble with this at all. I mean, it's like learning many languages when you're a baby or a young kid. You just assimilate as many languages as you like, as you're exposed to. It doesn't cause any problem at all. It's the same with the internet. If you're a native speaker of the internet, as it were, I have seen 8-year-old kids operating on one machine with 3 windows,
yes,
and interacting in admittedly pretty crude written communication because they're only 8,
yes,
but nonetheless, doing something that I wouldn't dream of doing.
Exactly.
So I'm not worried about it at all. On the other hand, from a teaching point of view, it is so important that teachers learn enough about the internet to advise students how to manage what it is they're doing, because that's what the kids don't have. They don't have a good sense of management. In other words, the dangers of the internet,
yes,
in particular. The fact that there is, it's not a nice world out there. The paedophile situation, all of this. The fact that the internet, because it's an anonymous medium, largely, motivates you to displaying your privacy, your background, your emotions, in a way that you would never dream of doing offline.
Sure.
The level of insult, for example, that's
Exactly.
exchanged. And kids have this view, they think, oh, I've just sent this horrible message to somebody. Oh, I wish I hadn't. I'll just delete it and it'll be gone forever. Well, it isn't gone forever, of course. It's still out there.
Absolutely.
It's still there. They have to realize that the internet is a very powerful medium and learn its properties.